In the heart of his glittering palace, billionaire Sheikh Rashad al-Zahid ruled with iron will and cold precision. Yet, on this decisive day, as murmurs echoed through the grand hall, an unexpected voice in fluent Chinese shattered the air, leaving everyone frozen. The weight of centuries-old traditions clashed with the shock of an unknown language, and all eyes turned to the source, the unassuming maid standing silently near the ornate gilded doors. The palace basked in the soft golden glow of sunset, filtering through vast stained glass windows that painted kaleidoscopes upon the marble floors. Rich scents of oud and amber incense wafted through the air, mingling with the dry whisper of the desert winds beyond the walls. Outside, the endless dunes stretched like a sea of shimmering gold, silent and majestic under the burning sun. Inside, power and luxury wrapped every corner, silks threaded with silver, jewels twinkling like distant stars, and the grand chessboard of emirate politics played within these opulent walls. Rashad herself stood tall yet tense, his sharp eyes fixed ahead but shadowed with a silent storm. Years of ruthless rule carved into his face a mask of unyielding command, but beneath that steel, a hint of torment flickered, dark memories he hid from the world. His gaze flickered to the maid. She was an enigma wrapped in simplicity, a plain, delicate face framed by a modest hijab, her slender hands clasped tightly before her. Yet in her eyes lingered a quiet fire, a mystery that no amount of gold could purchase. The meeting had begun under usual terms. Dignitaries from distant lands gathered to discuss lucrative deals and shifting alliances. But as Rashad laid out his plans, the murmur began. His maid had quietly responded to a visitor's question in flawless Mandarin, the language's cadence rolling from her lips with practiced ease. Whispers bloomed like wildfire, rippling through the crowd. How could a mere servant command the tongue of the East? Questions danced in the air, heavier than the desert heat. Rashad's gaze pinned her, a rare flicker of curiosity piercing his guarded expression. He recalled every detail: the soft rustle of her gown, the sudden steadiness in her posture, the steady beat of her heart that seemed to contradict her reserved demeanor. A simultaneous distrust and fascination tangled within. Him, an invisible thread pulling tight between master and maid. As silence engulfed the room once more, he leaned slightly, voice low and sharp. "Who taught you to speak like that?" The maid's eyes met his, steady, unblinking. "It was necessary," she answered simply, her tone calm yet infused with an unspoken weight. Then, a hushed conversation nearby caught Rashad's ear. A whispered name. A connection to Zara al-Fayed, the fierce rival whose ambitions threatened to swallow Rashad's empire whole. His breath hitched. The revelation struck like a thunderclap. This was no ordinary servant. Beneath her quiet exterior lay a past tangled with secrets that could unravel everything he had built. The room's atmosphere thickened, power and peril entwined, as the billionaire Sheikh grappled with the truth hidden in the maid's fluent words. His heart hammered in his chest, a collision of suspicion, intrigue, and something more forbidden. Before the next secret of this vast emirate unfolds, Make sure you are part of our caravan of stories. Many destinies will still be shaped, and you won't want to miss a single moment. Leave a like if this billionaire sheikh has already caught your heart. Tell us in the comments, from which city are you following this saga? And what twist do you expect next? Your passion for these tales fuels our journey. Thank you for being with us. The murmurs swelled like a restless tide, pressing against the golden walls of Rashad's palace. Every gaze, once confident and assured, now flickered with uncertain curiosity toward the young Maid whose Mandarin had seized the room's attention. The air grew thick with the scent of oud and dust, as if the desert itself held its breath. Rashad stood motionless, the flicker of a storm gathering behind his sharp, calculating eyes. His quiet question hung in the air, deliberate and cutting. Who taught you to speak like that? The maid's gaze never wavered, steady and unflinching. It was necessary, she said, her voice calm but threaded with something profound. A weight that made even the most guarded men shift uneasily. A sudden shift in the room's energy snapped Rashad back to the present. The faint whispers near the marble pillars spoke a name that struck him like a blade. Zara Al-Fayed, a name heavy with menace, a rival whose ambition fed on power and secrets. His jaw clenched. This revelation planted a seed of suspicion, intertwining his intrigue with a burgeoning dread. He stepped forward, his boots barely making a sound on the marbled floor, yet his presence commanded the room like a tempest. "Speak," he demanded, voice low but imbued with authority. "Who are you truly?" The maid bowed her head briefly, a silent acceptance of the challenge. "I am Noor," she confessed, her name a whisper against the resonance of the palace. "Once, I was far from here, far from this life. I came bearing truths that some would kill to bury." Her fingers clenched the edge of her simple hijab. "I never intended to reveal myself, but today it was unavoidable." Rashad's mind raced. What truths lay behind those unassuming eyes? What shadow of Zara Al-Fayed wove its thread through this quiet servant? His harsh life, sculpted by rule and revenge, allowed no room for softness. Yet Noor's revelation stirred something unexpected. An ember of curiosity mingled with an unvoiced longing. "Why speak to the dignitaries in Mandarin?" he pressed, stepping closer, the cold air between them charged with unspoken tension. "Because I needed to send a message that only a few would understand," Noor replied, her voice barely above a breath, yet thick with resolve. "The empire you cherish is more fragile than you imagine. Zara's reach extends past the deserts, and the deserts go piercing him from all directions, courtiers exchanging nervous glances. The luxurious palace suddenly felt like a gilded cage, every ornate detail a reminder of the stakes he faced. The silk-lined halls echoed with secrets darker than night. The game was far more dangerous than he'd admitted. "And what is your role in this? Are you her spy?" His voice was a razor, slicing through the suspense, demanding truth. "No," Noor's eyes flashed with quiet fire. "I am a guardian of secrets, but not hers." A fragile defiance rose in her, one that unsettled Rashad more than any direct threat. "I am here because I chose to be, to protect what you cannot see, the legacy beneath the gold and power." The room seemed to tilt, the shimmering chandeliers casting fractured light across their faces. Rashad's hardened features softened for a moment, shadows dancing in his eyes as conflicting emotions warred within. Trust was a luxury he seldom afforded, yet Noor's presence gnawed at his defenses like nothing before. A servant approached hurriedly, whispering into Rashad's ear. His eyes narrowed. "The emissary from the Northern Emirate awaits your audience," the man said, voice tense. Rashad nodded swiftly, turning away with a controlled exhale. Yet as he left the grand hall, his eyes lingered once more on Noor, an enigma wrapped in dignity and danger. Later, in the solitude of his private chambers, Rashad paced slowly. The ornate room, lined with gleaming weapons and ancient calligraphy, reflected a man caught between tradition and turmoil. He fingered a delicate silk scarf, a gift from a past love, now a painful memory. Noor's words echoed in his mind. "The Empire is more fragile than you imagine." He felt a tightening in his chest, a cold knot of suspicion, and something deeper. Could this quiet woman, who dared to speak in secrets, unsettle the very foundation of his reign? His thoughts fractured under the weight of a new question. What did Zahra al-Fayed truly want? And how deeply had she already infiltrated the world Rashad had spent a lifetime building? The sound of whispered voices drew his attention. From behind a carved wooden screen emerged Layla, the head of his personal guard and confidant. Her expression was unreadable, but the concern in her eyes was unmistakable. "His Highness," she began, her voice a soft anchor amidst the storm. "There are rumors spreading among the court. Zahra's allies grow bolder. Noor's presence has unsettled more than just your house." Rashad's gaze was hard, a flicker of vulnerability shining through the worn veneer. "I do not tolerate weakness, Layla," he replied quietly. "But this is not weakness. It is a challenge." She stepped closer, her voice lowering. "A challenge that could unravel you, or forge you into something stronger." He exhaled slowly, the glint of resolve sharpening his eyes. "Then I will meet it head-on. Noor will speak with me privately. There are truths to uncover, and I intend to expose every one." As Layla nodded and stepped away, Rashad turned to the window, staring out at the desert twilight. The sun vanished behind the dunes, shadows creeping over the sand like secrets waiting to be unearthed. In that moment, a faint echo of a memory whispered through his mind. An ancient promise broken, a betrayal long buried beneath layers of gold and blood. The silent thrill of impending reckoning stirred within him, and the palace, majestic yet fragile, seemed to lean in closer, listening. Suddenly, a soft step behind him. He turned sharply. Noor stood at the threshold, her eyes reflecting the flickering candlelight, calm but resolute. "There's something else," she said quietly, voice weighted with a secret that twisted like a dark thread through the air. "Something you will not want to hear, but must." Rashad's breath caught. The truth would unravel tonight. And when it did, Nothing would ever be the same again. Rashad permaneceu imóvel, o ritmo de sua respiração medido, mas pesado como o ferro que prendeu seu coração há anos. A presença silenciosa de Noor carregava um magnetismo paradoxal. A simplicidade de sua aparência contrastava com a imensa carga que trazia em cada palavra. O salão dourado, antes repleto de murmúrios indecifráveis, agora parecia um palco suspenso entre o passado e o presente, onde segredos aguardavam seu desdobrar. Ele a observou enquanto ela permanecia firme, olhos fixos no dele. A hesitação que qualquer outro teria manifestado ali desaparecera nela completamente. Noor, com sua calma forjada em chamas invisíveis, parecia uma muralha inexpugnável, uma promessa de enigmas ainda não desvendados. Então Noor, Rashad murmurou, sua voz baixa, mas cortante. Você escolheu ficar para proteger algo que eu não posso sequer ver ou tocar. Explique, por que eu deveria confiar em você? Um raio dourado filtrou-se pelas janelas altas, iluminando o perfil dela. As linhas suaves do rosto, delicadamente delineadas pela luz morna do entardecer. Ela suspirou, um som quase inaudível, mas carregado de um peso milenar. As verdadeiras ameaças não vêm apenas de quem empunha espadas ou traça planos de guerra. Ela respondeu, voz firme. Zara Al-Fayed quer destruir não só impérios, mas também os corações que neles batem. E para isso, ela já enviou lobos para dentro dos muros. Rashad apertou os punhos, sentindo a corrente invisível que prendia sua alma a capturar cada vez mais. E você é uma dessas lobas disfarçadas? Não, meu senhor. Ela negou, um brilho intenso de lealdade cruzando seus olhos. Eu caí entre eles, mas escolhi me unir ao seu lado. Porque minha história, assim como a sua, é gravada em sangue. Eu protejo alguém que muitos esqueceram que precisa. Rashad enxergou, por um momento, uma sombra em seu próprio reflexo metálico que se projetava nos adornos do salão. Um homem ferido por batalhas invisíveis, lutando contra fantasmas que nem mesmo o ouro poderia afastar. A quietude rompeu novamente, com passos rápidos e decididos. Layla surgiu ao lado do Sheikh, sua presença firme como sempre, um raio de disciplina e sabedoria em meio ao caos do palácio. A inquietação entre os aliados, senhor, avisou com um olhar direto. A notícia da sua proximidade com Noor provocou suspeitas. Zara está se movendo rápido, e seus homens infiltrados podem agir a qualquer momento. Rashad a encarou, gravidade em seus olhos. Então é hora de preparar o tabuleiro para o jogo final. Convide Noor para meus aposentos. Quero entender cada peça desse quebra-cabeça. O crepúsculo tingia as paredes com tons de âmbar e carmesim, quando Noor foi conduzida ao santuário privado do Sheikh, um aposento onde o luxo não escondia as cicatrizes da alma. O perfume de rosas secas misturava-se ao aroma do couro antigo e dos manuscritos confidenciais espalhados sobre uma mesa de ébano. Ali, longe dos olhares curiosos, a atuação de poderistas e cortesãos, Rashad esperava respostas que pudessem salvar seu império ou destruí-lo. Ela entrou com passos silenciosos, cada movimento impregnado de uma mistura de respeito e determinação. Ao fechar a porta atrás de si, o silêncio entre eles tornou-se palpável, quase sufocante. Diga-me tudo, ordenou Rashad, sentando-se e cruzando os dedos sobre o peito. Tudo o que você sabe sobre Zara e seus planos. Descarte as palavras inesperadas, apenas a verdade crua e nua. Noor respirou fundo, lutando contra memórias que ameaçavam transbordar. Zara não é apenas uma rival comum. Ela busca controlar não apenas as riquezas, mas as almas que sustentam este emirado. Há um traidor dentro de seu círculo íntimo, alguém que você confia. Rashad arqueou uma sobrancelha, a tensão aumentando como uma tempestade eminente. Cada palavra dela rompendo um silêncio ancestral. Seu império poderia ruir. Por dentro, levado não por inimigos externos, mas pelas mãos daqueles que se escondem em sua sombra. Quem é este traidor? Ele exigiu, apertando o punho sobre a mesa, o som ecoando como um trovão abafado. Noor hesitou, sua delicadeza aparente evaporando diante da urgência. Não posso dizer ainda, mas há um símbolo, uma rosa negra gravada discretamente, um sinal entre os conspiradores. Você verá nas próximas reuniões e saberá quem olhar com desconfiança. O silêncio caiu entre eles, como um véu espesso. Rashad sentiu a antiga chama do comando arder, a necessidade de agir antes que fosse tarde demais. E você, Noor, ele disse lentamente, o que deseja por trás dessa lealdade inesperada? Você guarda mais do que segredos, não é? Um sorriso tênue curvou os lábios dela, um misto de desafio e dor. Meu senhor, quem vive entre as sombras aprende que até a lealdade tem suas feridas. Eu não escolhi este caminho, mas escolhi você. Rashad sentiu o peso daquelas palavras como uma lâmina suave contra seu peito. No exato momento em que a noite engolia o fogo do dia, a porta se abriu, e uma figura familiar, inesperada, cruzou o limiar com um sorriso que prometia desgraça. Majesty, I believe we need to speak. A voz soou firme, porém carregada de segredos. Rashad virou-se, o olhar endurecido em determinação e dúvida. Noor fechou os olhos por um breve instante e murmurou, quase para si mesma, Let the game truly begin. The flicker of candlelight cast long shadows across Rashad's private chambers, the air thick with unspoken fears and fragile hopes. Noor stood just inside the door, her presence a quiet storm. The weight of her secret hung between them, heavier than the gilded walls that enclosed them. Rashad's gaze bore into her, a tempest of suspicion and something more raw. An ember of something he had long forgotten, stirred slowly beneath the surface. Speak, Noor. I have already heard whispers too loud to ignore. Tell me everything about Zara al-Fayed's plans. Leave nothing hidden. Noor's eyes caught the reflection of the glimmering blades, arranged meticulously on the ancient ebony table. Zara's ambition is a storm poised to tear this emirate apart. She breathed. She moves like a shadow, silent and deadly. Her spies are everywhere, men who wear loyalty like masks but wield daggers behind backs. The room seemed to shrink, the scent of oud suddenly heavier, the distant desert wind, a mournful sigh drifting through the latticed windows. She's preparing for something. Noor continued, voice low but steady. A final strike that will not only shatter your rule, but bring ruin to those you hold dear. There's a traitor among your closest advisors, a serpent hidden in your garden. Rashad's jaw clenched, the words slicing through his composed exterior. Where only the conspirators see. You'll see it soon. Watch carefully. His fingers curled into fists, the polished wood beneath his knuckles scraping softly. Every moment he had ruled was built on trust and calculated power. Yet now, doubt crept in, seeping through every crack in his palace's foundation. Why do you risk telling me this? Rashad's voice lowered, barely above a growl. "What is it you truly want?" Noor stepped closer, the light catching on the delicate curve of her cheekbone, the hint of a shadow behind her calm. "I protect the legacy that matters," she whispered. "Not the empire of gold and stones, but the heart of what it means to be a people. I chose this path, even when it meant walking among enemies. And I chose you." Rashad's breath hitched, a crack in the iron mask he wore for decades. In that fragile space, vulnerability flickered like the flame between them. The loneliness of power was a heavy crown, yet here was someone who dared to bear it alongside him. A soft knock echoed from the hallway, abrupt and urgent. Layla entered with measured steps, her sharp eyes scanning the charged atmosphere. "Majesty, the council is restless," she announced quietly. "Zara's forces grow bolder. Rumors roam like wildfire, and even the most loyal begin to question." Rashad nodded without turning. "Let them question. Let them see the truth hidden behind the veil." Layla's voice softened, a rare softness aimed at the man beneath the throne. "But listen to your heart, sire. Strength comes not from iron alone, but from knowing when to trust and when to strike." The room fell silent again. Rashad's gaze drifted toward the wide window, where the moon now bathed the desert in silver. The dunes rolled endlessly, a reminder of how small power seemed against the vastness of fate. Turning back to Noor, he spoke with quiet command. "We move at dawn. I need every detail you possess, every shadow Zara casts, every whisper in the dark. Together, we will uncover the truth." Her nod was solemn. "Prepare yourself. The night ahead will change everything." For a fleeting second, the distance between them dissolved. Their realities, divided by birth and secrets, seemed to merge under the same starlit sky. Yet the fragile thread of alliance shimmered with uncertainty. Footsteps approached in the corridor, slower this time, deliberate. Rashad's body tensed. The door creaked open. A figure emerged, tall and poised, bearing the unmistakable aura of fate's cruel design. The very embodiment of their shared torment and desire. Zara al-Fayed. Her eyes gleamed with triumph, a smile curling in the dim light that promised ruin, wrapped in silk. "Rashad," she purred, voice silk-threaded steel. "You think you are ready for the storm. You have only felt the first gust." The chamber froze. Rashad's heart thundered, not with fear, but with a fierce promise. Noor's gaze hardened, the calm before the tempest. And in that breathless moment, a secret long buried began to stir, one that would sever bonds and ignite a chaos beyond what even a billionaire Sheikh could command. Because in the shadows of power, the deepest betrayals are those woven by blood. The air in Rashad's private chambers was thick with tension, the shadows of flickering candles stretching across the ornate walls like silent sentinels. Noor stood unwavering, the quiet grace in her posture belying the storm she carried within. The opulence of the room, the delicate scent of aged leather, the faint trace of amber incense, was a stark contrast to the raw urgency beneath the surface. Rashad's piercing eyes never left hers, searching, weighing. The weight of her secret pressed heavily between them, a fragile veil over the unspoken truths, threatening to unravel his empire. "Tell me everything," he commanded, voice low, laced with the rasp of exhaustion and determination. "No omissions." "Noor, I need to know Zara's every move, every whisper in her shadowed halls." A fine line of light caught her face, illuminating the subtle tremor of shadow beneath her calm surface. "Zara's ambitions are deeper than you imagine," Noor began carefully. "She's no mere rival thirsty for power. She is a tempest gathering, one that will not stop until every stone in this emirate lies in ruin." Rashad's jaw tightened, every muscle taut as he absorbed her words. The luxury around him, the silk tapestries, the sparkling chandeliers, felt suddenly like a gilded prison tightening with each revelation. "Her spies are embedded everywhere," Noor continued. "Men who wear loyalty as a mask, but hold daggers in their hands. They move unseen, poisoning alliances, turning friends into foes." The Sheikh leaned forward, fingers drumming on the ebony table, each beat a thunderous echo in the room. "And this traitor, who is he? Or she?" His voice hardened, a blade tempered in cold steel. Noor's eyes narrowed, haunted but resolute. "I cannot yet name the serpent hiding in your court, but you will know them by a symbol, a black rose, etched discreetly where only the conspirators recognize." She paused, her voice dropping to a whisper. "Watch carefully. Trust no shadow too easily." A heavy silence stretched, thickening the air. Rashad's mind raced, the scales of power tipping precariously. Every alliance, every handshake, now a potential blade in the dark. "And you," Rashad's voice softened, almost vulnerably. "Why expose these secrets? What is it you really want? What binds you to this war beneath the gilded surface?" Noor stepped just a breath closer, the candlelight flickering over the delicate curve of her cheek. "I protect something older than kingdoms, something precious no gold can buy." Her voice was firm, but carried a fragility like fine glass. "I chose this path because I know what it means to lose everything, to betray what truly matters. And I chose to stand beside you, not against you." Rashad's breath hitched, the iron mask he had worn for decades, faltering for the briefest moment. In her quiet defiance, he glimpsed the reflection of his own fractured soul. A sudden knock shivered through the stillness. Layla entered, her presence sharp and unyielding, yet carrying the soft weight of loyalty. "Majesty, unrest stirs." "Beyond these walls," she said quietly, "Zara's forces grow bolder, her reach spreads like wildfire, and doubt seeps even into the most faithful." Rashad did not flinch. "Let them doubt. It is time to clear the mists." Layla's gaze softened ever so slightly, a rare touch of tenderness beneath the commander's stern exterior. "Strength is not only forged in battle, but in knowing when to trust and when to strike." He nodded, eyes fixed on the moonlit desert visible through the window beyond the chamber. The endless dunes rolled like a sea of silver under the night sky, silent witnesses to the war of shadows unfolding within his home. Turning back to Noor, his voice carried an unyielding command. "Prepare yourself. We move at dawn. I want every..." piece of this puzzle laid bare before me. Every secret Zara hides, every whisper in the dark corners. Her nod was solemn, the weight of their pact settling between them. The night ahead will decide everything, she promised. In the intimate space between them, the divide between master and servant blurred for a fleeting moment, two souls tethered by secrets and a fragile hope that in this chaos, something true might yet survive. Suddenly, the door creaked open. Both snapped their heads toward the sound, tension snapping taut like a bowstring. The figure that entered carried the unmistakable aura of menace and power. Zara al-Fayed herself. Her eyes gleamed with cruel triumph, lips curved in a smear of silk and venom. "Rashad," she said, voice dripping with mock sweetness, "you believe you are ready? You have felt nothing but the breath before the storm." Rashad's heart thundered, not with fear, but with fierce resolve. Noor's calm hardened into a steely edge as the room's air crackled with unspoken warfare. And in that suspended heartbeat, a fault line shattered beneath the Golden Palace. The war for the emirate had truly begun. The moment Zara al-Fayed stepped through the threshold, the heavy silence shattered like glass underfoot. Her presence was a blend of silk and steel, the kind of peril wrapped in a teasing smile that promised ruin draped in elegance. Rashad's eyes locked onto hers with the ferocity of a man who had weathered decades of battles. Some fought out in the open, others carved into the shadows of his heart. Noor's steady gaze cut through the tension, a quiet defiance against the storm that Zara's arrival heralded. The opulent chamber, fragrant with amber and oud, felt suffocating. Every gold leaf and delicate carving imprinted with the sharp sting of impending war. Zara's voice sliced through the stillness. "You believe yourself ready, Rashad. This is but the first gust before the storm breaks." Rashad's jaw clenched, the subtle tremor in his hands betraying the tempest beneath his measured exterior. "I have seen many storms, Zara. You will find that I am not so easily broken." Her laughter, low and dangerous, curled around the air like smoke. "We shall see." She turned her gaze to Noor, eyes gleaming with cruel insight. "And you, this servant with secrets like daggers, do you truly think your loyalty will withstand what's coming?" Noor met her look without flinch, the faintest hint of a challenge in her eyes. "I serve more than a man, Zara. I serve a future you have long tried to steal." The tension snapped tighter as Layla stepped forward, her presence steady as a pillar amidst the swirling chaos. Her voice was calm but unwavering. "Majesty, the court whispers grow louder. Zara's reach claws deeper with each passing hour. The traitors wear faces we once called friends." Rashad's gaze fell to the ebony table between them, the polished surface reflecting the flicker of candlelight and the turmoil in his mind. "Then the game begins tonight," he declared, voice sharp as a blade. "No secret will remain in shadows." He studied Noor, the enigma he had glimpsed anew, and felt the weight of her quiet strength. "Prepare yourself. We face the night together." The room seemed to hold its breath, the air thick with promises and threats entwined. Rashad's thoughts flickered back to memories buried in gold and pain. Whispered betrayals, faded loyalties, and a love lost to war's cruel hands. A sudden knock fractured the silence. The heavy doors opened, revealing a courier. Compromised. The black rose symbol appeared unmistakably at the corner, ink dark as the desert night. Rashad's heart thundered, not with fear, but fierce resolve. He folded the letter deliberately, meeting Noor's gaze with newfound clarity. The traitor's signature is clear. The serpent's path is closer than we feared. Noor stepped forward, the glow from the alabaster lamp casting soft shadows that danced across her determined face. Trust no one. At the next gathering, she warned. Loyalty is a cloak worn by those who would see us fall. A faint tremor ran through Rashad's torso, the weight of command pressing upon him like the desert sun. Yet beneath the iron mask, a shiver of vulnerability curled within, a reminder that even the strongest towers could be undone from within. He looked toward the window, where the dunes lay bathed in silver moonlight, vast and indifferent to human schemes. The desert whispered secrets older than the palace walls, secrets he could no longer afford to ignore. Turning back to Noor, his voice was low but resolute. We will confront this threat, and those hidden in plain sight. For the emirate, for those we hold dear. Noor's gaze softened ever so slightly, a silent vow passing between them. The night will test everything, Majesty, but I am not here to fail. The distant echo of unseen footsteps sent a sharp edge through the quiet, and Rashad's instincts flared. He moved toward the heavy curtain, pulling it aside to reveal a figure cloaked in shadow, an unexpected visitor whose very presence rewrote the rules of his carefully tensed chessboard. The visitor's eyes glimmered with unspoken intent. Sheikh Rashad. The voice was smooth, laced with power and whispered menace. What you do not yet know will change the fate of all you cherish. Rashad's breath hitched. The fragile line between trust and betrayal began to blur anew, and the ground beneath his throne shifted once more. As the desert wind moaned against the palace walls, a single truth crystallized in Rashad's mind. The battle for his empire would be won and lost not only through might and wealth, but through secrets that could shatter even the strongest of hearts. And tonight, the first stone was cast. The flickering candlelight seemed suddenly too dim for the shadows lurking in Rashad's chamber. The air was thick, each breath heavier than the last. Noor's presence, a silent storm, stood a mere pace away, yet it felt as if miles of secrets lay between them, twisting and tightening, with every word unspoken. Rashad's eyes bore into hers, a relentless force of will, combined with an ember of something softer, almost forgotten. Tell me everything, he demanded, voice low but commanding, about Zara El-Fayed's plans. I need every detail, no omissions. Noor's gaze flickered toward the weapons arrayed on the ancient ebony table, their cold steel reflecting the grave weight of their conversation. Zara is more dangerous than you realize, she said softly, each word precise as a dagger's edge. She doesn't just want power. She wants to dismantle the very heart of this empire. Her reach is like the desert wind, silent, relentless, and capable of eroding even the strongest walls. The scent of amber and oud swirled languidly, mixing with the tense silence. Rashad paced slowly, the marble floor cool beneath his feet, but unable to quell the heat roaring inside him. Her spies are everywhere, Noor continued, her voice steady despite the turmoil deep within. Men wearing the mask of loyalty, betraying in shadows. They weave a web designed to choke you. Among them is a traitor, someone close, someone you trust. Rashad stopped, eyes narrowing as a cold knot coiled in his chest. How do you know this? And who? His voice was steady but razor sharp. Noor swallowed hard, the fragile calm on her face momentarily cracking. I can't name them yet, but there's a symbol, a black rose, discreetly marked where only the conspirators recognize it. Watch for it. It will reveal itself soon. A heavy silence wrapped the room. Rashad could almost hear the empire itself holding its breath. Why risk telling me? He asked, his voice dropping to a mere growl. What do you want from me, Noor? Beyond secrets and shadows? She stepped closer, the flicker of candlelight, tracing the gentle curve of her cheek, the fire in her eyes unwavering. I protect something greater than titles or gold, she whispered. A legacy, fragile and true. I chose this path, even if it meant living among enemies, and I chose to stand by you. For an instant, Rashad saw past. The unyielding Sheikh to the man beneath, the man who bore scars invisible to most, the solitary weight of power pressed down on him like the desert sun, relentless and unyielding. Yet Noor's quiet conviction stirred a fragile hope he hadn't dared entertain in years. A sharp knock shattered the tension, and Layla entered, her presence steady, commanding. Majesty, unrest spreads. Zara's web tightens, and even the most loyal hesitate. The court whispers venomous thoughts, fear and doubt growing like wildfire. Rashad remained unmoved, eyes fixed on the moonlit dunes stretching endlessly beyond the window. Let them whisper. The truth will cut through the lies. Layla's gaze softened, a rare tenderness beneath her steely resolve. Strength comes not only from conquest, but from knowing when to trust and when to strike. He turned back to Noor. We move at dawn. I want every secret laid bare. Zara must be unmasked. Noor nodded solemnly, her expression a blend of determination and burden. The night will test everything, Majesty, but I will not fail. Between them, the unbreakable divide of birth and station thinned, if only for a heartbeat. Two souls tethered by fragile trust, racing against a tide of shadows, creeping ever closer. Suddenly, the heavy door creaked open. They both snapped their heads toward the sound, tense, alert. The woman who stepped inside carried the weight of doom itself in her smile. Zara al-Fayed, draped in silk and venom, radiating power and menace. Rashad, she purred, voice silk-threaded steel. You believe yourself prepared? This is but the breeze before the desert storm. Rashad's jaw clenched, his breath steady, heart pounding with fierce resolve. I have weathered storms before. You will find I am not so easily broken. Zara's laugh, low and dangerous, curled through the chamber like smoke wrapping fragile things. We shall see. Her eyes flicked to Noor, sharp and cruel. And you, little servant with secrets sharp as daggers, how long will your loyalty last when the winds shift? Noor's gaze did not waver. I serve more than a man, Zara. I serve a future you could never own. The atmosphere crackled with unspoken war. Layla stepped forward, blade of calm in human form. Majesty, the traitors in your midst wear familiar faces. The web strands are tighter than ever. Rashad stared into the polished ebony table, reflections of flickering flames dancing like ghostly warnings. Tonight, the game begins. Every secret must be brought into the light. His eyes met Noor's, the silent promise unspoken but understood. From the dark hallway, a sudden rustle, deliberate footsteps that drew ever nearer. A shadow detached itself from the gloom, a figure unknown, yet drenched in an aura of power and formidable intent. Sheikh Rashad. The voice was smooth, laced with menace and mystery. What you do not know will change everything you think you hold dear. Rashad's heart stuttered, the foundations beneath his throne trembling. A breath held in the vast desert night, a fragile thread stretched tight. The war for his empire was no longer a battle of swords and gold, but a contest of secrets that could shatter even the strongest heart. And in the deepest corner of the chamber, Noor's steady hand clenched tightly, ready to unleash a truth that would change everything. The moment the heavy doors closed behind Zara Al-Fayed, the air in Rashad's chamber grew colder, as if the very walls recoiled from her dark presence. Her eyes, sharp and unyielding, held the spark of a woman who thrived in chaos. A storm in silk, that Rashad could see the subtle tension in her slender hands, the resolve in the quiet fire of her dark eyes. Between the two women, a silent war simmered, loyalty, deception, power all tangled in an invisible web. Zara, Rashad's voice cut through the thick silence, low and commanding. Your presence here is bold, but you underestimate the strength you face. Zara's lip curled in a half-smile. Strength? Her voice was silk that hid steel. This empire of yours is a mirage built on shifting sands, and tonight the winds will sweep your illusions away. Rashad's fists clenched on the smooth ebony table. No empire, no matter how vast, can stand if its foundation is rotten. That is what you cannot see. The words hung in the air. Like a gauntlet thrown, Noor's breath was steady as she spoke. Zara's games have brought us to this precipice. But it is not only ambition that fuels her, it is vengeance wrapped in shadows. Rashad's eyes narrowed. A flicker of old pain crossed his face. Vengeance against me? No. Against what this empire represents. Against the family ties you have refused to mend. She exploits every rift, every secret you keep. A sudden silence swallowed the room, broken only by the faint rustle of silk as Rashad paced, a king moving in a gilded cage. The scent of oud mingled with the sober weight of choice and consequence. There is a traitor, Noor whispered, someone close. The hidden weight behind her words landed like a stone. You will see. The mark soon, a black rose, discreet and deadly. Rashad stopped, the image blazing in his mind. A rose black as midnight, its thorned beauty a cruel emblem of betrayal. And you, he said quietly, why have you stayed? What is your stake in this brutal game? Her eyes locked on his, unwavering. Because I protect a legacy older than crowns or gold. Because I know that if this house falls, it will not be because an enemy struck fatal blows, but because those within faltered. The heavy doors shifted once more. Layla entered with flawless composure, concern glinting in her fierce eyes. "Majesty," she said softly, "the whispers are turning to shouts. Zara's allies grow bolder, and trust dissolves like dust in the desert wind. The circle tightens, and no one is beyond suspicion." Rashad met her gaze, iron settling in his expression. "Then let the doubt bring truth." His voice was a blade honed by years of rule. "Tonight, secrets must be unearthed." She stepped aside as Rashad's eyes returned to Noor. "Prepare yourself. At dawn, we strike first. Every ally, every enemy, every shadow cast by Zara's ambition." Noor inclined her head, the fire in her gaze burning steadier still. "The night ahead will reveal what the day dares to hide." The weight of their unspoken alliance hung between them, like a storm ready to break. The desert beyond was vast and dark, an endless void where fate's cruel hand moved unseen. Then the door creaked again. A figure slipped into the chamber, wrapped in shadow and mystery. Rashad's breath caught. The presence was unexpected, but not unwelcome. The visitor's voice was a soft, deliberate whisper, pulsing with quiet power. "Sheikh Rashad, the truths you seek are nearer than you imagine, but some revelations demand a price you have yet to pay." Rashad stepped forward, steel in his gaze. "Name yourself." The figure's smile was enigmatic, a curve of secrets and promises. "I am the last piece of your puzzle. The reckoning you thought was far away has already set its course." Noor's hand closed tightly at her side. Rashad felt the room contract, every breath a fragile weapon in a game of shadows. Suddenly, the lantern light flickered violently, casting shifting silhouettes upon the marble. Visions of trust betrayed, alliances broken, and a love threatened by the approaching storm. In that chamber, heavy with gold and danger, a single truth struck deeper than any sword. No wall, no throne, no matter how glittering, could withstand the tide rising in the hearts of those who hold secrets close. And as the stranger stepped forward, the final veils began to lift. The battle for empire, for loyalty, and for the soul of a man who had everything except certainty was about to begin. But just as Rashad opened his mouth to speak, the stranger's hand moved to reveal a small, weathered scroll. Its seal broken, its message written in a hand long thought lost. Rashad's eyes widened as his heart thundered. The scroll bore the emblem of the Black Rose. A single word echoed in the stillness, chilling and clear: betrayal. The heavy air of Rashad's chamber shifted as the enigmatic visitor stepped further into the candlelit room. The stranger's sharp gaze held the weight of truths long buried, truths poised to shatter the fragile equilibrium carefully maintained within the palace walls. Rashad's jaw clenched, the emblem of the Black Rose on the ancient scroll searing into his consciousness like a silent warning. The betrayal was no longer just a whisper. It was at his doorstep, knifing into the heart of everything he had built. Noor, standing unwavering beside him, exuded a quiet storm, her resolve the only steady force amid the gathering tempest. She had chosen this path, and now their fates were irrevocably intertwined. The newcomer's voice, smooth yet edged with icy certainty, sliced through the tension. The traitor stands amongst those you trust most. The time has come for the truth to rise, for the veils to fall. Rashad's eyes flicked to Noor, then back to the messenger. Then speak plainly. Name the serpent that coils beneath my palace walls. Let no shadow hide in the night any longer. The messenger extended a hand, revealing a delicate necklace bearing the very symbol Rashad feared, a black rose entwined with a dagger's silhouette. This mark is worn by the one who has spun Zara's web from within. A hush fell over the room, punctuated only by the faint crackle of candlelight. Rashad's mind raced through memories of countless alliances, of faces both familiar and deceiving. The betrayal had run deeper than he dared imagine. Noor stepped forward, her voice steady yet etched with urgency. You must trust no one blindly. The throne you hold is as much a prize as it is a target. Zara's vengeance is relentless, but so is your will. A rare flicker softened Rashad's sharp features. The man beneath the Sheikh, now visible in a moment, stripped of armor. For years, I ruled with iron and shadow, trusting little beyond my own judgment. But this betrayal, it cuts to the soul. He turned away briefly, surveying the moonlit desert beyond his window. The dunes, endless and unyielding, reminded him of his own stubbornness and the price of power. Then, with a measured breath, Rashad faced those gathered once again. We will confront this enemy before they can strike further. Tonight, the palace will reveal all its secrets. Noor nodded, her dark eyes meeting his with a fierce loyalty that defied circumstance. And when the truth breaks, no matter how heavy, we will endure and rebuild. As they moved through the grand halls, once glittering symbols of absolute power, they drew ever closer to the court's heart, where whispered fears and hidden daggers had festered in the shadows. The atmosphere was taut with anticipation. The trusted advisors, their faces masks of polite concern, hardly concealed the tension that rippled through the room. Rashad's gaze swept over them, keen and unyielding. Suddenly, the grand chamber's doors opened. Rashad commanded the room's full attention. Tonight, we expose the traitor. Let no lies fester in the dark. A slow murmur spread as courtiers exchanged coded glances. The black rose insignia was known now, a symbol of poisonous intent. From the crowd, Layla stepped forward, her voice sharp and clear. Majesty, the weight of deception has been carried far too long. No loyalty should come at the cost of truth. Rashad's hand steadied on the arm of his throne. Speak, if you have proof. Let darkness be banished by the light. Suddenly, a figure emerged, one whose mask of loyalty fell away with a flicker of desperation. The traitors stood revealed, their face twisted with guilt and defiance. I never wished to betray you. The voice trembled, but I was bound by debts and shadows beyond your sight. Zara's claws reached deep. Rashad's eyes burned with fierce disappointment. You have made your choice. Now, you must face the consequence. Yet, beneath the surface, a complex web of motives lay bare. Fear, ambition, and twisted love. The court held its breath as Rashad pronounced justice, tempered with a rare mercy, born of hard-earned wisdom. With the threat unveiled and the traitor detained, the palace seemed to breathe anew. The fragile threads of peace began mending in the glow of dawn's first light. Rashad and Noor stood together on the palace balcony, the desert sunrise bathing their figures in gold and rose hues. The endless horizon spoke of promise and renewal. No matter the storms that come, we will endure, Rashad whispered, his voice softened with the weight of revelation and hope. Noor smiled, a genuine, radiant light that had been hidden beneath years of secrecy and sacrifice. Together, we are stronger than the shadows that sought to break us. In that moment, the billionaire Sheikh and the woman who had dared to stand by him found not only truth, but a love forged in trials and tempered by trust. The empire they guarded was no longer just walls of gold and power. It was a legacy of resilience, forgiveness, and an unbreakable bond. As the sun climbed, gilding the palace and spilling warmth across the dunes, Rashad's heart finally knew peace. The past's shadows receded, replaced by the bright horizon of tomorrow. And within the empire's golden embrace, a new chapter began, one written not by deceit and war, but by the fierce, enduring light of love and hope.